There are moments when a man begins to notice that his life is no longer driven by impulse but by intention. The noise that once pulled him outward becomes a faint echo behind the steady rhythm of his breath. In this silence, he discovers a rare power, not the power of control over others, but the power of command over himself. It is the awakening of inner order, the quiet alignment between the body's desires and the soul's direction. When a man learns to channel his most primal energy into purpose, the world around him begins to shift. His presence thickens, his aura sharpens, his footsteps carry meaning. This energy, though unseen, speaks in frequencies older than language. It tells the world that he is not enslaved by his hunger, but guided by his purpose. The woman who walks by may not understand it in words, but she feels it in the same instinctive way the tide knows the pull of the moon. What she feels is not his control. It is his coherence, the silent rhythm of a man who has mastered his storms. Retention, in its highest form, is not about denial. It is about transmutation. The energy a man preserves does not stagnate. It ascends, it becomes the fuel that feeds his vision, his creativity, and his unshakable sense of direction. The ancient mystics called this the fire of alchemy, the transformation of lower desires into higher awareness. In modern language, it is focus, presence, and flow. When a man learns to redirect his inner current toward his calling, he glows with something that cannot be imitated. His eyes hold a stillness that is both calm and commanding. He does not chase, he attracts. Not because he seeks validation, but because his spirit radiates order in a world addicted to chaos. Women, who are attuned to subtle vibrations, feel that equilibrium instantly. It is not lust that draws them, it is the gravity of consciousness. The man who walks this path does not need to speak of it. The resonance of his discipline speaks for him. Every civilization that ever rose understood the mystery of energy discipline. The sages of the East spoke of ojas, the refined essence that rises when one guards their life force. The warriors of the West called it virtue or vigor. It was never superstition. It was spiritual science. Energy conserved becomes clarity. Clarity becomes authority. Authority becomes peace. The modern man, however, has forgotten this ancient circuitry. He spends his energy before he spends his day, scattering his focus in 1,000 directions. But the one who reverses his flow becomes luminous from within. His skin seems to glow differently. His words carry depth, and even his silence demands attention. This is not magic, it is the natural magnetism of integrity. A woman may see him across a room and feel an unfamiliar calmness, a sense that she is in the presence of something steady. She might not know why, but her spirit recognizes safety and power. That is the alchemy of energy retention, the invisible halo of a man who governs himself. She feels your semen retention energy before she sees you. There's an invisible current between men and women, a subtle pulse that precedes any conversation, any glance, any interaction. For most men, this current goes unnoticed, buried beneath ego, habit, and distraction. But for a man practicing semen retention, this current is amplified, more palpable, more magnetic. The reason lies not in mysticism alone, but in biology. Semen retention, by consciously conserving sexual energy, has profound effects on the male body and psyche. The surge in testosterone, heightened dopamine regulation, and improved nervous system control all contribute to a man projecting an energy that women can sense even before meeting him face to face. Women, biologically and psychologically, are wired to detect signals of vitality and genetic fitness. Evolution has shaped their perception to notice subtle cues, posture, confidence, micro-expressions, scent, and yes, energy. Studies have shown that women subconsciously respond to pheromones, the chemical signals that communicate health and fertility. While semen retention does not change pheromones directly, it enhances the overall vitality of a man, stabilizes his hormone profile, and makes him more attuned to his body's rhythm. This translates into a more confident posture, steadier voice, and an internal calm that women unconsciously read as strength. The man who holds his energy is not chasing attention. He emits a natural pull that draws the eye and stirs interest. Take Alex, for instance, a 28-year-old writer. Before practicing semen retention, he approached dating with a subtle desperation, unaware of the biological mechanics that influenced attraction. Women were polite, conversations were friendly, but the spark he hoped for rarely ignited. After committing to retention, he noticed changes almost immediately. His energy felt fuller, more contained, more directed. His voice gained depth, his movements a deliberate grace, and his presence no longer demanded attention. It invited it. At a cafe, he observed women subtly orienting toward him, smiling or lingering in brief conversation longer than necessary. What changed was not his face, his body, or his wealth. It was the biological energy he carried, refined and focused. Biologically, Semen retention affects several systems simultaneously. Testosterone, which regulates aggression, confidence, and sexual drive, increases in subtle, measurable ways during retention. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter of motivation and reward, becomes more balanced, creating a quiet intensity rather than impulsive hyperactivity. This combination of hormonal stability and heightened awareness translates into behaviors women are wired to notice. Clear eye contact, relaxed posture, purposeful gestures. In essence, semen retention refines the signals that the male body sends, amplifying attractiveness in a way that bypasses conscious reasoning. Women feel it instinctively because evolution has taught them to prioritize energy efficiency and reliability in mates. But the impact is not just biological, it is psychological. A man who practices retention develops self-mastery, a sense of inner calm and focus that permeates every action. This psychological shift is mirrored in subtle body language. He occupies space without aggression, moves without hesitation, and engages without neediness. Women, even on a subconscious level, detect the difference between need-driven attention and the quiet energy of self-possessed men. Alex noticed this the first time he walked into a bookshop after a month of consistent retention. Women glanced up from shelves, heads tilted slightly, lingering in their gazes longer than before. It wasn't charm or confidence in the traditional sense. It was the resonance of contained energy, the biological signal of vitality and focus. The science behind it aligns with evolutionary psychology. Women have long been attuned to traits indicating reproductive fitness, health, stability, and resourcefulness. Semen retention does not magically enhance beauty or charisma, but it improves the internal signals that the body naturally projects. Hormonal balance, pheromonal stability, and the neurological quietude of a man in control of his drives. This energy is detected before words are spoken. Before appearances are analyzed, it is primal and immediate. Retention acts as a form of biological amplification, translating self-control into observable, attractive qualities. Ultimately, the energy she feels is a reflection of your discipline and inner harmony. It is not manipulation, nor is it about superficial dominance. It is the quiet, biological power that emerges when a man respects his own vitality, directs it consciously, and embodies it fully. For Alex, and countless men who have explored semen retention, the lesson is clear. Attraction begins with energy, not effort. Women respond to the natural pulse of life, force channeled with purpose. The moment he stopped seeking approval and began cultivating his inner energy, he noticed it. The subtle magnetic pull, the fleeting glances, the instinctive attention. She doesn't see you first. She feels the energy you carry, shaped by biology, refined by discipline, and amplified by conscious retention. In the mystical language of Jung, the masculine principle seeks meaning, while the feminine seeks connection. When a man refines his energy, he becomes a vessel of meaning. His discipline no longer suppresses desire, it sanctifies it. A desire does not die. It becomes devotion to purpose, to mastery, to the divine rhythm of life itself. This transformation bursts an aura that transcends appearance. You can clothe such a man in simplicity, and still, he stands out. The air around him feels different, like a subtle charge before a storm, not threatening, but awakening. His gaze is neither hungry nor hesitant. It simply is. He no longer moves to impress. He moves to express the sacred stillness within him. And because the world has forgotten that stillness, it leans toward him unconsciously. The woman, drawn by that energy, is not responding to charm. She is responding to coherence, to the rare serenity of a man who has become whole. There is a paradox to this path. The more a man holds his energy, the less he is held by the need to prove it. The more he cultivates restraint, the more abundance flows toward him. It is as if the universe rewards inner harmony with outer alignment. His work begins to bear fruit. His relationships deepen. His words begin to heal rather than harm. People may call it confidence, charisma, or luck, but it is none of these alone. It is spiritual gravity, earned through the ancient texts described it as walking with one's higher self awake. In modern eyes, it looks like quiet power, the ability to remain centered amid noise. And while others chase pleasure, he radiates peace. That peace is what the feminine senses even before she turns her eyes toward him. It's not the scent of cologne or the look of status. It's the vibration of mastery. She feels his energy before she sees him because his being has become frequency, a living transmission of balance between desire and divinity. Ultimately, the practice is not about attraction, it is about ascension. Retaining energy is retaining awareness. When a man learns to harness his inner current, he steps out of the hypnosis of craving and into the clarity of creation. He begins to see that true power is not in taking, but in transforming, not in possessing, but in being. This realization turns his entire existence into meditation. His work becomes sacred. His relationships become reflections of his state. He walks through the world as a lighthouse, not seeking attention, but offering illumination. The woman who feels his presence senses more than a man. She senses consciousness embodied, the living proof that restraint can be radiant. This is the paradox of the modern sage. He conquers nothing, yet rules himself. He desires nothing, yet attracts all that aligns with his path. And in that silent sovereignty, he discovers the oldest truth, that when a man guards his inner fire with reverence, the world responds not to his words, but to his wavelength. Before we conclude, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and do not forget to drop your location in the comments. I'd love to know where you are watching from. And if you ever have any questions, join our Telegram channel, where we interact directly and help each other grow. The link is in the description.